Support WrestleTalk!
Thank you for your support on Patreon, the $100 Man CD Holver. Brock Lesnar is nowhere to be seen, Seth Rollins can't wrestle on TV, and all of Ronda Rousey's opponents are on SmackDown, which can only mean it's time for WWE's bi-monthly Crap the Bed episode. It's a new era, but the same old shit. And it's a new era here on WrestleTalk too, as this Raw review is evolving into a super review news. Super news. With Luke Owen running through the biggest wrestling stories in this video after my Raw review. Click the timestamps down below if you want to go right there. I'm Oli Davis, give us a subscribe, press the thumbs up button, and answer our question of the day in the comments. What did you think of WWE's shock NXT call-ups? Where I'll be replying to people from out of nowhere. And click the eye above my head to give your rating of the show, where you can choose from Rawsome, Core, Average, Poor, and Rawful, as I review the 18th of February 2019 edition of Monday Night Raw in about 4 minutes. Prepare yourselves, because it's going to be a negative one. Triple H opened the show recapping all the Elimination Chamber title changes, said Becky Lynch was cool for beating up Ronda Rousey and Charlotte, but not when it's him who's suspending her, and that he's going into this year's Hall of Fame with DX. So far, so generic Triple H in ring promo. But then he revealed that top NXT stars Ricochet, Aleister Black, Tommaso Ciampa, and Johnny Gargano would be debuting on tonight's Raw. What a shock announcement that I'm sure has absolutely nothing to do with Raw's massive ratings decline, how it's severely lacking in star power, or that new thing called All Elite Wrestling. Perhaps the sudden call-ups could be the much-needed shake-up to Raw's non-existent main event scene. Perhaps this really is a new era, and to prove that Raw is changing, the in-ring action is going to kick off with Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin. You were so close, WWE. Braun beat Corbin in a tables match, with Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley nowhere to be seen, so that Elimination Chamber angle meant nothing. Hopefully that's the end of this incredibly dull feud. Hopefully we'll also soon be seeing the end of Brock's reign of absence, because as cool as video packages hyping him are, having Paul Heyman cut a promo introducing a video package of Paul Heyman cutting a promo about Lesnar was laughable. Admittedly, Lesnar's probably not around because Finn Balor and Seth Rollins made him believe so hard. Really taught him a lesson there, lads. The new Intercontinental Champion was jumped next by Lio Rush and Bobby Lashley, because I guess that Elimination Chamber angle also meant nothing. Cue Ricochet running down for the save, or more aptly, handspring somersaulting into a forward roll 650 senton down for the save. While he got his S-word in and the winning pin over Rush, this was far from the most effective debut of Ricochet. An NXT call-up from out of nowhere with half an hour's build and no contextual character work in a formulaic mid-card tag match with Balor and Bobby Lashley. It's okay though, I'm sure they've got something special planned for the other three guys. Kurt Hawkins continued his losing streak with Zack Ryder against Lucha House Party. With all the new shiny NXT stars on the show, you might worry WWE wouldn't get time to continue systematically ruining the last bunch of call-ups. Silly you. Of course they'd have time. Raw's 3 hours. Lacey Evans got to do her half-entrance gimmick, which was bad, and then Heavy Machinery did their version of it, which was also bad. The next two NXT call-ups were arguably the biggest of the bunch. The NXT champion Tommaso Ciampa and his long-term frenemy, the North American champion Johnny Gargano. Not that long-term storylines matter though, as Ciampa and Johnny behaved like humble babyfaces here representing their beloved NXT, a promotion they've run roughshod over for the last year. It's just the latest example of NXT existing in a separate, much better continuity to the main roster. Whatever's going on, it's hard to complain too much when you get the Revival versus DIY, who of course wrestled a very good match. Sadly though, it wasn't just WWE's short-sighted booking that made this show so frustrating. It was also the Louisiana crowd, who hardly reacted to the match and debuting wrestlers. But then again, it's not all their fault. This isn't the Raw after WrestleMania crowd, who know every word to Bobby Roode's entrance music. This is Lafayette, a relatively small town seemingly there to enjoy main roster wrestlers they know from TV. not a show built around 4 brand new wrestlers with practically zero context. WWE choosing to debut their NXT call-ups here hints towards a last-minute, not well thought out strategy, and this match should have most definitely been the main event to at least make it look like WWE cared about making these guys top stars. Even with all the real-life emotion of becoming WWE's inaugural Women's Tag Team Champions, scripted in-ring promos aren't Bayley and Sasha Banks' thing, and this was pretty stilted. It got worse when Nia Jax and Tamina came out to be lamely chased off. Drew McIntyre demanded a match against Seth Rollins from Triple H, but remember, there are no authority figures, and Dean Ambrose just walked up and slapped him. This resulted in McIntyre beating Ambrose in just 2 minutes. I've got to hand it to Vince. This whole Dean leaving WWE storyline is one hell of a work. Ambrose asked Seth Rollins backstage afterwards why he didn't help him out in his match, forgetting the last 4 months of blood feuding between the two. Give me some of that sweet, sweet medicine. Wait a second, what's that noise? It sounds like a drum roll. Could it be? The Terry Funks counter has returned, but for Dean Ambrose, which says his current Funks given status is... It's 0! Oh my god! When you thought of Aleister Black's main roster debut, you probably fantasy booked a showdown with The Undertaker, or maybe knocking out a top champion with one kick. But sometimes, like with Kofi Kingston last week, WWE gives you something you never knew you wanted. A competitive match against Elias. You only get one chance to debut, people, and this was the cherry on top of Raw's crap cake. Every single NXT call-up was lackluster, rushed, firmly in the mid-card, and wasting of almost unlimited potential. I'm not saying they won't get over and be booked better in time, although looking at the last several years of NXT call-ups, not the best track record for that, but I am saying this episode of Raw and their debuts is a stupidly short-sighted rush job on WWE's behalf, likely stuck in the damaging mentality of NXT wrestlers having to work from the ground up on the main roster rather than debuting them as what they could be, major stars who can rejuvenate the desperately empty main event scene on Raw. And these debuts aren't just wasteful of the wrestlers themselves or the potential main roster storylines they could have been introduced in, it also significantly undermines NXT and these 4 guys' years of fantastic character work and feuds. And to cap off a terrible show, we got a rematch of that classic 2-minute Ruby Riott versus Ronda Rousey bout from the previous night, a match that makes no sense in being booked, as Ronda had beaten Riott easily. She did so again here, and then beat up the rest of the Riott squad, and that's your main event angle. Utter crap. In my opinion, this was one of the most damaging episodes of WWE television I've ever seen. Not just because of it being weirdly boring considering the shock NXT call-ups. Not all shocks are great, by the way, like a surprise punch in the ballsack, but also because how this affects the future of the promotion, ineffectively debuting what was supposed to be your next few years of top talent. This week's Raw is a lowest ever score Rawful. Now over to Luke, who's got the latest on what Kofi Kingston is doing at WrestleMania, and some very weird comments from Paige on WWE fans.
Thanks, Oli. That was a great review, man. Kofi Kingston has had the most incredible 7 days of his professional career. This time last week, Kofi was just part of that fun tag team act New Day with no place on the Elimination Chamber card. But then one SmackDown episode later and he's pinned Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe, and WWE Champion Daniel Bryan. And then a few days later, he's pinned Randy Orton inside the chamber and got arguably the biggest crowd reactions of the whole night, nearly winning the WWE Championship from Captain Planet himself. This performance and the shot of Kofi and his New Day pals sat outside the chamber with the WrestleMania sign looming over their heads has led to a lot of fans to plead with WWE to give Kofi a WWE Championship shot at WrestleMania, paying off an 11-year run with the company by winning arguably their top title. However, according to Dave Meltzer on Twitter, Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania is not the plan as of Monday. When one fan said that WWE would have a plan for Bryan at WrestleMania in place, Meltzer cryptically responded by saying, "They know now," which certainly ties into WWE announcing that Bryan's Fastlane opponent will be revealed on SmackDown tonight, which should give us a better indication of Bryan's road to WrestleMania and a potential match with Kingston. And even even with that incredible wave of momentum for Kofi Kingston, one of the biggest matches being talked about for Mania is that triple threat between Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, and Becky Lynch. A match that many are speculating will be the actual main event of the show, as in the match that actually goes on last and closes out the night. It's really a huge step forward in WWE's corporately created women's evolution, which has seen women headline pay-per-views, get their own pay-per-view, and even introduce new main roster titles. It's certainly a big step up from WWE presenting women as a sideshow attractions for titillation, or piss breaks to buffer, quote, proper matches. And this was something that many fans had lobbied for hard with their hashtag Give Divas a Chance movement. But not according to Paige, it would seem. Paige here told Golf News in an interview to promote her upcoming biopic Fighting With My Family, it was never WWE holding the women back, it was the fans not taking them seriously. And as you would imagine, these comments caught the ire of many wrestling fans who took against being blamed for WWE presenting women a certain way, with Twitter user Boris compiling this amazing Twitter thread showing various examples of that not being the case, like Michelle McCool revealing she and Melina were shouted at backstage for being better than the guys and was once told to retape one of her matches because her punches looked too good, Nikki Bella saying one of her matches with AJ Lee got cut from 15 minutes to 30 seconds, and even Trish Stratus revealing that she once lost her women's championship because she refused to kiss Tori Wilson as she didn't think it fit her character. Paige has responded to this backlash on Twitter, saying that her comment of "it was never WWE holding women back, it was the fans" was taken out of context, saying it was a combination of both the fans and WWE. She told one fan, even up to a few years ago, certain places we would wrestle in, the fans in big arenas would chant "boring" to the girls or "start the wave," or for years chanted "we want puppies." Telling another, fans back then would call us toilet breaks. It was only when the girls, the female superstars, took it upon themselves to change the way anyone perceived us. Adding in another tweet, in reality what I said, it's not all on WWE. Up until a few years ago, women didn't have the support from a lot of people. Thanks for watching this super review / news episode, which was brought to you in part by our wonderful pledge hammers on Patreon, which you can see scrolling down there. And be sure to check out Oli Davis's review of Elimination Chamber over there and our Ramble review down there somewhere. And if you want your name in the credits, become one of our pledge hammers on Patreon today. I've been Luke Owen, and that was wrestling.